Ever wondered what that gold border thing under an Uma's name is? I'm sure you've seen it plenty of times. Sometimes these things display finals champion, the GOAT, or record holder. These are called epithets. Now, what is an epithet? They are nicknames or titles obtained during a run for achieving specific goals. A character can obtain multiple of these during a run, and at the end of each run, you can select one of them to be displayed next to the character's name. You can switch the epithet displayed freely from your list of veteran umamusume tab. Each character also has their own specific epithet. It can be found in the archives, trainer notes, selecting an uma, and then clicking on their epithets tab. It is right at the bottom of the list, but you can also sort it to descending. Character-specific epithets have a set of requirements to fulfill to obtain them. They either relate somewhat to their real-life counterpart, their anime counterpart, or are just pretty random. Usually, you will need to go out of your way to achieve these requirements, like doing extra races besides the one you need to do in the career, needing to place in a certain position, or getting the sufficient amount of fans. Unlocking these epithets are not necessary though. They do not give you any bonus stats or rewards upon obtaining them, other than to just show them off. This is more of something you could do in your free time or if you're interested in getting the epithet of your favorite Uma. I've had this idea ever since I've gotten all the good endings for the Umas I currently own, and I wanted to do something different. Nobody has made this kind of video too, so I thought why not be one of the first few to do so. Today, I'll rank the character specific epithets I've managed to get from easiest to hardest to obtain. There will be 5 categories, namely easy, just need a bit of luck, moderate, stats, skills and luck, as well as tough to get. I will also provide some tips on how you could get them and put timestamps on them in the description, so you can skip to the Uma that you want to get the epithet for. Before I go into details, I'm going to be telling you some of the support cards and skills I recommend, because each Uma definitely needs it. I'll thus refer to them as support cards, speed skills, recovery skills, and debuff skills when I'm talking about an Uma. For the speed cards, I would recommend Kita-san Black, Sweep Tosho, Special Week Event, Aishin Flash, and King Halo. For stamina support cards, they are Super Quick, Seiyun Sky, Satono Diamond, Manhattan Cafe, and Mayano Top Gun. For power, they are Vodka, Oguri Cap, and Hishimezen. While for wit, they are Daiwa Scarlet, Matikanefukukitaru, Marvelous Sunday, and Fine Motion. These are just some of the support cards that I have or happen to borrow. If you don't have the support cards that I've mentioned earlier, it's okay. You can still use the cards that you have and you think that are strong. My tip here is that most of these support cards must be at least like limit break 3 or 4 for the SRs. For the SSRs, they don't need to be fully limit broken. They can be at 0 LP or 1. But for your Kita-san Black, it is highly recommended to have it at max limit break. Next up, shown on the screen are some of the skills that I would recommend to buy. You can pause this video now to see the list of skills. Next up, more general tips. Try to train your friendship bonds in the first few turns of your career, as they are very essential to helping you increase your stats at the later game with friendship training. Game Tora is also a very useful resource for the game, especially the training event helper, so use that if you want. For the limitations, I have only managed to obtain 21 character specific epithets out of the 24 Umas that I've owned. The ones I couldn't achieve before making this video are Harurara, Winning Ticket, and Narita Taishin. If I somehow manage to get any one of their epithets after this, I'll talk about them in a future epithet video. I am also missing a few Umas as you can see. Once I get them, I'll also try to get their epithets, and when I do, I'll talk about them in the same future epithet video. I did most of these epithets in the Uma's 2-star form. The ones done in 3-star are also the Umas who initially start off at 3 stars. The exceptions were Rice Shower, which I had at 4 stars, Sakura Bakushin O, which I had at 3 stars, and Taiki Shuttle, which I had at 4 stars. I think 2-star is a very good starting point to try and get these character epithets. Some of these Umas here are also at least potential level 3. Though I think level 3 is not really necessary in most cases, you could still upgrade them just to get that extra skill that just might help you in the long run. And lastly, these are just my opinions on how easy or hard these epithets are to get. You might have a different opinion on how easy or hard they are to obtain, and that's fine. I just want to provide some tips because I felt it might be helpful to those who want to get it. With that out of the way, let's get started on the video. To start things off, we will go into the easy tier. Most players can obtain these epithets purely free to play. They do not require a lot of conditions to obtain, which also includes not needing to complete the career, winning the URA finals, or being the #1 popular. They can also be accomplished in 1 to 3 runs. We are going to start off with Mayano Top Gun. The epithet is named Free Spirit. You have to win a G1 using Front Runner, Pace Chaser, Late Surger, and End Closer. So, Mayano Top Gun's base stats, they are A for front and pace, B for late and end. So, in this case, you can use speed, stamina, or power legacies, or it could also be a mixture of all 3, preferably if it could also boost the late and or end. For the deck, I use 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power. So, for the races, you could do Hopeful Stakes as end first because it requires less stats since it is the very first G1 medium race you will encounter. The next G1 race, Satsuki Show, can also be done as a Late Surger, or Late Surger can also be done once you build up your stats and if you're feeling confident enough. And then the rest of the G1 races could be done with front or pace at least once each. My tip here is to run the first few G1 races as a End Closer or a Late Surger because these races require less stats to win, whereas the future G1 races or the ones towards the end of the career require more stats to win. Front and pace are easier to train, so you can use that for the future G1 races such as the Senior Year Arima Kinen or the Japan Cup or even the Tenno Autumn, and even the ones in her career path. You would also need to get some yellow skills and at least 1 to 2 recovery skills with about 350 to 400 stamina because of the amount of long and medium races in the career path. Swinging Maestro can reduce the stamina requirement by a bit, so by all means try to get Swinging Maestro. Next up, we have Vodka, and her epithet is named Extraordinary Empress. You need to win at least 7 G1 races including the Japanese Derby, Yasuda Kinen, Japan Cup, Tenno Autumn, and Victoria Mile. For Vodka, her base stats are A for Mile and Medium, whereas it's B for Pace and A for Late. You can run her in Pace or Late depending on which style you're more comfortable running in. You can use either speed, stamina, or power legacies, or it can be a mixture of any of these 3. For my deck, I use 3 speed and 3 wit. Okay, this one's very easy honestly. For the races, you just need to win any 7 G1 races, and like 5 of them are already in the career path honestly, so there shouldn't be much of a problem. You just need to race 2 more races outside of your path, and yeah, that's not too much of a problem. Another tip is to get yellow skills and at least one recovery skill with about 300 to 350 stamina, because that's about the stamina requirement for medium races. The last Uma to belong in the easy category is Taiki Shuttle. Her epithet is named Mightiest Miler, which is to win 5 graded races at least, including the Unicorn Stakes and Yasuda Kinen, with at least one win in rainy weather, and win the Mount Championship by at least 5 lengths. For Taiki, her base stats are A for sprint and mile, A for pace, and B for dirt. You can run her in pace unless you have a legacy that allows you to run in front, then front would be definitely easier. For this, you can use power legacies, because you just need power. For the deck, I use 3 speed and 3 wit, but you can also use 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or you can also use 3 speed, 2 power, 1 stamina. For the races, you just need to win any 5 graded races. It can be G1, G2, G3, anything but OP. And 4 of the G1s are already in your career path, so you just need to go out of your way to do 1 more. You can do like those the ones before Hopeful Stakes. I cannot remember the name, but they are there, so you can do those as a start. You can win Mount Championship by 5 lengths and above in either classic or senior year, because it didn't really state specifically which year you need to do it. So if you screw up like the classic year, for example, you can do it in the senior year, which is pretty convenient. So as I said earlier, my Taiki was in a 4-star form, but I managed to get this title too in 3 stars, so it can definitely be done in her 3-star form. So for this, you just have to upgrade speed and wit, because umamusume is just a wit game, and focus on building the friendship bonds too, so that you can friendship training your speed and wit to get SS+, making it easy for you to win. So get as many yellow skills as possible. You don't really need recovery skills because it's just mild. I don't think it's that necessary. At least for me, I didn't get any specific recovery skills. Don't mind the Gorman in my build, because that was just to try and increase the points so that I could get an S rank, but as you see, I failed at it, so that's another story for another time. Next up, we are going to move into the next category, just need a bit of luck. Besides stats, a bit of luck is needed to obtain these epithets. They also do not require a lot of conditions to obtain, which also includes not needing to complete the career, winning the URA finals, or being the most popular. It can be a bit tougher to achieve these requirements, but they are not as hard. And they can also be accomplished in about 1 to 5 runs, depending on how lucky you are, or unlucky you are, as I can say. The first one that we're going to go through is Mejiro Ryan. Her epithet is called Mesmerizing Muscle, and it states that she needs to win at least 1 G1 race against an umamusume with the Mejiro name, win the Kikuka Show, Takarazuka Kinen, and Arima Kinen, and also obtain at least 240,000 fans. Her base stats are A for medium, A for pace, and also late. You can run her in pace or late. In my case, I ran her as pace. You can either use speed, stamina, or power legacies, and it can also be mixed. So the deck can be either 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or 4 speed and 2 stamina, if you're feeling a bit risky. For the races, you just need to obtain a better position in any medium or long than McQueen. So you can just use any of these 3 prerequisite races, which is the Kikuka Show, the Takarazuka Kinen, and the Arima Kinen, or else she might just randomly appear in another long race or medium race. It's really random, so just pray that she appears in any of those. The Kikuka Show only appears once in the career path, so you gotta win that, or else the epithet doesn't count anymore. For this, you can just get about 350 to 400 stamina with at least one recovery skill, and it can be like swinging Maestro or Gorman, either one of these, or any other recovery skills that are general or can be used for her. Next up, both the Takarazuka Kinen and Arima Kinen can be worn in either the classic or senior year, and both races appear in the career path, so just try your best to win that too. You can do that with like decent stats, and your stamina is about at least 350 to 400 like before, with something like corner recovery, swinging maestro, gorman, straightaway recovery, or any other of those stamina skills. So for Mejiro Ryan, the tips I will give are just upgrade your speed and stamina because they are more or less needed, and pace don't really need a lot of power, although you still need a bit of it. And then of course build bonds early, so it's easier for you to train speed and power together because of the friendship training later. So get all the yellow skills such as your Professor of Curvature, your straightaway adapt, your home stretch haze, and so on and so forth, and you should be good to go. I forgot to add on that you just need to race some other G1 races that's not in the career path, because you need to get 240,000 fans, which is not really a hard thing to do, because just winning the Japan Cup or the Arima Kinen just once each will be able to get you very high amount of fans. So yeah, just race and win them and you should be set for Mejiro Ryan. Next up on the list, we have Air Groove. Her epithet is named Empress. During a career playthrough, receive inspiration from a legacy who won the Japanese Oaks, win the Japanese Oaks and Tennosho Autumn, and obtain at least 320,000 fans. So the base stats for this are just A for medium, B for mild, A for pace, and late. Her skill works better in late, although pace is also viable. I ran her in pace because I feel pace is easier to train. For Air Groove, you can use speed and stamina legacies, and of course you have to keep in mind that you have to use at least one legacy that won the Japanese Oaks. Your deck can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or else it can also be 3 speed, 1 stamina, 1 power, and 1 wit, which is the deck I used. The wit is there to recover energy and also to upgrade speed if needed. For the races, both of these races are in her career path, so you just have to win them there and then. They are pretty doable with at least 1 or 2 acceleration skills or yellow skills and 1 recovery skill. For this, you just need to upgrade speed, stamina, and power. And of course, as usual, the same tip is build bonds early on so that it's easier to train the speed and power together. So obviously, again, get those yellow skills. They're gonna be more often, I'm telling you this, but get those yellow skills like your Professor of Curvature, straightaway adapt, home stretch haze, and your recovery skills like Gorman or swinging maestro or straightaway recovery. Those things I'm gonna repeat over and over again, but it's because they are very important for each and every Uma to at least try to get their epithets. Also, for the requirements of the 320,000 fans, you could just do the same thing as what you do for Mejiro Ryan, which is to run in the other G1 races that are not in her path. You could run Japan Cup and Arima Kinen in both years, and if you win in both of them, you get at least about 200k fans, which is more than enough to help you to get 320k fans easily, because the URA finals also give you about 70k in total, so take that as you will. Overall, Air Groove is not really a hard Uma to train, and her epithet is not too hard to get. Following that, we have Grass Wonder. Her epithet is called Phoenix, and you have to win the Asahi High FS, Arima Kinen Classic Year, Takarazuka Kinen Senior Year, and Arima Kinen Senior Year with a mood of good or lower. For Grass Wonder, her base stats are A for mild and long, B for medium, and A for pace and late. Her skill works better when you run her as a late surger, even though pace is also pretty good. For Grass Wonder, you have to use stamina and power legacies, although speed can be pretty valuable too. However, I used a lot of speed cards, so I didn't use speed legacies. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, and it can also be 4 speed and 2 stamina. Or else, it can also be 3 speed and 3 wit, which is not really viable, but it's still usable. For the races, all of the races are in the career path, so you do not need to go off the way. For the Arima Kinan, the recommended stamina I would feel is about 400 to 450 with at least 1 recovery skill. Your speed could be about 550 plus on the classic year, 650 plus on the senior year, and both of them have to have the yellow skills too. Because you need to raise a good mood most of the time, try your best not to use support cards that give automatic mood up, or always pick the option that don't bring your mood up. If your mood is great and your required raise is the next turn, try your best to fail the training so you can reduce it to good, although it sounds as cruel as it is. My tips are to upgrade speed and stamina, maybe power if needed, if it's too low or lots of bond appear there. You can build the bonds early on, so it's easier to train speed and power together. And of course, if you are running her as a late surger, you definitely need more power, so you can train all 3 together. As usual, get your yellow skills and your recovery skills. As you can see from my screenshot here, I did not win the URA finals, so that's why my rank is B, but I still managed to get the epithet, which shows that you don't need to win the URA finals to get the epithet. Next up, we have Super Quick, and her epithet name is Speedy Stayer. You need to win the Kikuka show by at least 5 lengths and win at least 6 graded races of 2,400 meters or more, including the Tenno Show Spring. For Super Quick, her base stats are A for medium, A for pace, and B for late, so the general consensus is just to run her in pace. Use power and speed or stamina legacies. Your deck can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, otherwise it can also be 4 speed, 2 stamina, or else it could also be 4 speed, 1 stamina, 1 power. For the races, to win Kikuka Show by 5 lengths, my advice is just to buy like acceleration skills. Yet again, Professor of Curvature, whole stretch haze, straight away acceleration, and all that kind of stuff, and at least 1 recovery skill. If you want to be more cautious, you can grab a few debuff skills. As usual, your stamina must be about 350 to 400. Your speed could be about 450 plus, and your power could be about 300 plus. It also depends on RNG, because opponents like Rise Shower or Ghost Ship could just potentially ruin your run and overtake you by either a long stretch or just end up behind you by like 2-3 lengths. So the other part of the requirement is to win 6 graded long races that is at least 2,400 meters, and 4 of them are already in your path, which also includes the Tenno Show Spring, so just have to win that. So my general tips here are to upgrade your speed, stamina and power. Since Kikuka Show is after the second inspiration, it should be doable, and then obviously get those skills, the yellow and the recovery. One thing to note here is that you can't use the Super Quick support card for Super Quick because you can't use the same trainee. So to get Swinging Maestro, you have to upgrade Super Quick to potential level 5, which might be costly. So think about it and just get some other recovery skill if possible. But if you have a lot of coins to burn and you have the enough materials to upgrade Super Quick to like potential level 5, I don't see why not you shouldn't do that. Yet again, Swinging Maestro is not necessary, but it is a very essential skill that can help you a lot. Last on this tier, we have King Halo, and her epithet is called Generation King. Receive inspiration from 2 legacy umamusumes with at least 11 combined G1 wins and win against Special Week, Seiyun Sky, Grass Wonder and El Condor Pasa at least 3 times each. So for King Halo's base stats, we have A for sprint, B for mild and medium, C for long, B for pace and A for late. Well, why am I saying a lot of distance styles for this? You will know why later. For now, you can run her at pace or late. You can use speed, stamina, legacies, and you can also use power if you want to. But the one thing to take note is you need to make sure to grab those legacies that have numerous G1 wins, as your total G1 wins from both parents needs to be at least 11 in total. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power as I've used, or else it can also be 3 speed, 3 stamina, or else if you don't want to run long races, you can also use 4 speed, 2 stamina. Now the races part might get a bit complicated, so just hang on tight. You just need to place higher than Special Week, Seiyun Sky, Grass Wonder and El Condor Pasa 3 times each. So one thing to remember is that you do not have to win the race. You just need to place higher than them. For example, even if you get 2nd place in a race, if you place higher than, let's say, Seiyun Sky, like you get 2nd and Seiyun Sky get 3rd, it is considered 1 time. So just to repeat again, you do not have to win the race in order for this to count. You just have to place higher than either of these 4 umas. Take note that the 4 foes appear in different races. Seiyun Sky and Special Week will naturally appear in your career, enough for you to place higher than them. Or else, you can also raise them in like graded races to have a chance to even meet them. So, Seiyun Sky, Special Week and El Condor Pasa has a chance to appear in the medium races. El Condor Pasa and Grass Wonder has a chance to appear in mild races. Special Week and Grass Wonder has a chance to appear in long races. And of course, all of these include the URA races, which also depends on what style that you're running. So let's say medium. If you're running in the URA medium, you can either meet Seiyun Sky, Special Week or El Condor Pasa, or meet all 3 of them if you're lucky enough. And all 4 foes will appear in the Arima Kinyan senior year, so make sure to use that chance to finish off the requirement. My general tips here: upgrade speed and stamina. Power is also fine at times. If you're running long, then obviously power would also be needed, but other than that, I think it should be fine. You can also get the yellow skills and your recovery skills as usual. The 3rd tier is moderate. In this tier, you need both stats and luck to obtain these epithets. They do not require a lot of conditions to obtain like the previous 2 tiers, which also includes not needing to complete the career, winning the URA finals or being the most popular. However, these conditions are a bit more demanding now, and there is a certain difficulty completing these prerequisites. You probably need to plan for this. These epithets can be accomplished in 1 to 7 runs or more if unlucky. The first Uma we have on this tier is Matikanefukukitaru. Her epithet is called Fortune Smile. You have to run in G1 or G2 races at least 15 times with a mood of grade and win at least 3 G2 or above races in a row, which includes the Kikuka show. So for Fukukitaru, her base stats is A for medium and long, B for pace and A for late. You can either run her in late or pace if your legacy improves the pace. Use power and mix speed and stamina legacies. So it's basically just power, and then the other legacy can be either speed stamina mixed or speed or stamina. For the deck, you can use 3 speed, 2 stamina and 1 Tazuna. It can also be 3 speed, 1 stamina, 1 power and 1 Tazuna or Aoi. Tazuna is good here because she can not only bring energy up but also mood up. Fukukitaru always has mood down, or at least quite often in my runs, and the epithet requires the racers to be participated in at least great mood, so bringing Tazuna or Aoi can be actually pretty good for moods. Other viable decks are 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or 4 speed, 1 stamina, 1 power. For the races, you can just race in any G1 or G2 race you see when you're in a great mood. You don't have to win these. These races can also include the ones that are in the career, and there are 6 of them to be exact. For the second part of the epithet, I suggest training up to Kikuka Show and winning that because that is your prerequisite. Then, take any 2 G1 or G2 races which you have a confident chance of winning and then do it. Preferably G2 since they are easier than G1 and they require less stats. For Kikuka Show, as usual, stamina needs to be about 350 to 400 with at least 1 recovery skill, and 400 plus speed with acceleration skills or yellow skills, and then at least 300 power or more. Debuff skills are pretty good here too, if you upgrade her potential level. For my general tips, upgrade speed, stamina and power, and then get your yellow skills and get your recovery skills. The last Uma we have for this tier is Agnes Tachyon, with the epithet faster than light. Receive inspiration from a legacy umamusume with career rank S or higher, win the Hofu Stakes, Yayoi Show and Satsuki Show while undefeated, and attain speed of 1200 or higher. For her base stats, they are A for medium, B for long, A for pace and B for medium. You definitely should just run her in pace. And use stamina and power legacies, and make sure one of these legacies is S rank. This is the main reason why most people can't get the epithet now, but they will soon get it in the future because S rank will be easier in the future, I suppose. If you're not confident in hitting the speed limit during training, and you think that you can upgrade your stamina and power quite fairly during training, then you can also use speed legacies. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 3 wit, and if you're afraid of not hitting the speed limit, 4 speed and 2 wit are also viable. For the races, you just need to take note of 3 races, which is the Hopeful Stakes that happens in junior year late December, the Yayoi Show which happens soon after, and Satsuki Show which also happens soon after Yayoi Show. The latter 2 of them are in career. So of course, for this to happen, you cannot lose any race before these 3 races. So number 1 is to win the junior make debut race, which shouldn't be a problem because make debut races are usually very easy. And then make sure that you have enough stats to win the Hopeful Stakes, Yayoi Show and Satsuki Show all without losing. My suggestion here is to not race any races in between the make debut race and the Hopeful Stakes race, so that you don't have a chance of losing in between and therefore ruining the whole run. And then obviously train enough stats so that you can win the Hopeful Stakes. My suggestion is about E plus speed, stamina and power preferably, and then your weight could also be E if possible. You can just leave guts at F because guts is not really an important thing to train, at least at this period of time in the game. My general tips here are to upgrade your speed and wit consistently, and if out of energy, try wit friendship training. If not, just take a rest, although try to rest as little as possible during the run. And the second one is to get acceleration skills or your yellow skills such as your Professor of Curvature, Straightaway Adapt, Home Stretch Haze, and your recovery skills like Swinging Maestro, Corner Recovery, Straightaway Recovery, all those stuff, and especially Gorman or Hydrate can also be pretty good here, and debuff skills are also a pretty good thing to use here. Next up, we have the tier Stats, Skills, and Luck. You need stats, skills, and luck to obtain these epithets. They do require some conditions to obtain, like getting a certain position in a race or getting a certain number of wins. These conditions are way more demanding now. One wrong move or not successfully hitting a part of the requirement might just ruin the whole run. There is a certain difficulty completing these prerequisites. You need to plan for this. These epithets can be accomplished in about 1 to 9 runs, depending on if you're lucky or else more if you're unlucky. For the first Uma in this tier, we have everyone's favorite Uma, Go Ship. Her epithet is called Unpredictable, in which you have to win at least 6 G1 races, including the Satsuki Show, Kikuka Show, and Takarazuka Kinen, and obtain at least 480,000 fans. Her base stats is A for medium and long, C for mile, A for N, and B for pace and late. It is recommended to run Go Ship in N closer to make use of a skill, although pace and late are also viable with legacies. For her, you can use power legacies and speed stamina mix legacies. The deck can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or it can also be 3 speed, 2 power, 1 stamina, depending on what you prefer. For the races, you just have to win 6 G1 races, which includes 3 in the career path, which is your Satsuki Show, your Kikuka Show, and your Takarazuka Kinen. Your career path has also 8 G1 races, which includes a compulsory win in the Tenno Show Autumn and the Aoima Kinen Senior Year. If you win the 5 G1 races I've mentioned before, you could just take 1 G1 race out of the career path to win so that you can fulfill the requirement of winning 6 G1 races. A reminder that if you get second or below in any of the 3 specific races, which is the Satsuki Show, the Kikuka Show, or the Takarazuka Kinen, you will have to abandon the current run for a new one. And the second part is the fan count. To hit the 480,000 fan count, just run in Japan Cup for both Classic and Senior Year and the Japanese Derby. If you feel that that is not enough, you can run in more G1 races. Also, take note that the URA races will approximately give you 70,000 fans in total, so you can just estimate from there. For my general tips, upgrade speed, power, and stamina. Remember that long races need about 350 to 400 stamina with at least 1 recovery skill. Also, get your acceleration or yellow skills such as your Professor of Curvature, Straightaway Adapt, Homestretch Haze, and others. She can be unpredictable, pun intended. She might pull out all the stops at times and then just fail horribly at others. She is also the only Uma so far in the game to restrict training, which isn't too big of a deal to be honest. And lastly, pray to the RNG gods that she can proc her skills and lock in. Next up, we have El Condor Pasa. Her epithet is called Phantom Bird. Win the Japan Cup Classic Year with Pace Chaser and complete the playthrough having placed top 2 in all races with at least 320,000 fans. Her base stats are A for Turf, B for Dirt, A for Mile and Medium, B for Long, A for Pace and Late. It is recommended for her to run in Pace to use her skill, but Late is also fine, but you do have to remember that you need to run in Pace for Japan Cup, so it's best to just stick to Pace all the way. You can use speed, stamina, or power legacies, and it can also be mixed too. For my build, I use both stamina legacies. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, but for my build, I went with 3 speed and 3 wit. This can be a bit risky because there are medium races which you need stamina, so I do train stamina sometimes during the run. For the races, you just have to win the Japan Cup Classic Year as a pace chaser. And it's kind of funny how they want you to win the Japan Cup Classic Year when they could have just made it a bit easier by putting this requirement on the senior year, because the senior year is on the career path whereas the classic year isn't. Reminder that if you do not win the Japan Cup Classic Year as a pace chaser, you have to abandon this run and go for a new one. The second part of the requirement is very demanding. It requires you to be either first or second in every single race that you participate in. The moment you get third in any of the races, you can no longer get the epithet and would have to do a new run. Earning 320,000 fans shouldn't be too hard. If you need any boost, you just have to run both the Japan Cup and the Arima Kinen in both of the years, because they give a lot of fans, like I mentioned earlier, about 200k. And in the case you need more fans, just run more G1 races. As I stated beforehand, the URA finals give about 70k in total, so that can also help you towards the 320,000 fans requirement. The good thing about Condor Pasa is that she can run in both turf and dirt races. Because dirt also has some G1 races that could give a decent amount of fans, she could also run in that. The last part of her requirement is you have to make sure to complete her career, which means getting through all the races in her career path, and that also means winning the Arima Kinen senior year. The good thing about this is you don't have to win the URA races though, because those are just an extra. As usual, get those yellow and recovery skills and you should be good to go. Next up on the list, we have Daiwa Scarlet. Her epithet is called Miss Perfect. Receive inspiration from a legacy umamusume with a career win in the Satsuki Show. Win 10 graded races including the Oka Show, Shuka Show, and Queen Elizabeth II Cup, and place top 2 in all races. Daiwa's base stats are A for medium and mild, and it's also A for front and pace. So you can run Daiwa in either front or pace. You can use stamina or speed legacies, but you need to take note that you need to make sure to get at least one legacy who won the Satsuki Show. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power. My deck was also 4 speed, 2 wit, and it can also be 3 speed, 3 wit. For the races, just win any 10 graded races. Graded races are just G1 to G3, so anything of that range, anything except OP basically, you could race. And the prerequisite races, the specific ones are Oka Show, Shuka Show, and Queen Elizabeth II Cup. These 3 are fortunately in the career path, so you don't really have to go off your way to find these races. Also, there are 5 more graded races in the same career path too. For the other 2, you can either take the Japan Cup or the Mao Championship for both years. If you really want to play it safe, you can play G2 or G3 races instead, as those require less stats to win. Like Condor Pasa, you have to either be first or second in every single race that you participate in. The moment you get third, you can no longer get the epithet and have to do a new run. Same goes for the 3 specific races. If you get second or below in any of those 3 races, you can also no longer get the epithet and you have to do a new run. My general tip here is just to get the yellow skills and recovery skills. If you're running her in Mao, there's not really much of a need for recovery skills, but they're still safe to have. And if you're running medium races, then recovery skill is a must. Next up, we have Rice Shower. Her epithet is called Saber Assassin, where you have to run in at least 23 graded races, win the Kikuka Show and Tenno Show Spring as second favorite or higher, and complete the playthrough with at least 320,000 fans. Rice Shower's base stats are A for medium and long, B for front, and A for pace. You can run Right Shower in pace or front, although I would really recommend front because front is an easier way to trade. For legacies, you can use power and stamina legacies. For the deck, it can be 4 speed 2 stamina. You can also try 3 speed 3 stamina or 3 speed 2 stamina 1 Tazuna, as Right Shower's mood often goes down quite a lot. For races, wow, oh man, this one's really tough. 23 graded races are a lot. Your career path has 7 graded races, so the other 16 have to be done during your training time. I have a picture of the recommended races to do to complete that requirement. Special thanks to Twitter user Raven for coming up with this. Make sure to also upgrade your stats, because this is where we start getting the popular requirements. You need to win both the Kikuka Show and the Tenno Show Spring as second or most popular horse. As usual, recommended stamina is about 400 to 450 with Swinging Maestro or Gorman. Speed can be about 500, around there, and then you have to pray for RNG. Opponents like TM Opera O, Gold Ship, Mejiro McQueen, and Super Quick might potentially ruin your run because of how strong they are in these specific races, so also take note of that. For the fan count, you will definitely achieve it because you're running in 23 graded races. For sure, you have to at least get that amount of fans. Right Shower is known for being one of the most difficult Umas to train. She has quite a lot of mood down events and they can proc quite often, so you do have to watch out for that. As I said earlier, you can bring in Tazuna or Aoi because they are able to not only regenerate energy for you but bring the mood up too, which makes it easier for Right Shower to run. My other tip is the same as all Umas, to get the yellow skills and recovery skills. Next up on the list is Tokai Teio, and her epithet is called Monarch. Receive inspiration from a legacy umamusume with at least 7 career G1 wins, win at least 4 G1 races as favorite, win the Satsuki Show and Japanese Derby while undefeated, and win the Aoyama Kinen senior year. Her base stats are A for medium, B for long, and A for pace. Of course, run Teio in pace because that's what she is best at. You can use speed, stamina, or power legacies as well as a mixture of all 3. Take note that you need to use at least one legacy that has at least 7 G1 career races that can be won. This is the list of Umas who have at least 7 G1 career races. You can use any one of these as a legacy umamusume for your Teio, but you need to remember that they need to have those 7 G1 career wins or else it wouldn't be applicable. A small fun fact here is that Game Towa had the wrong information here, because on the website it just stated that you need 7 G1 wins, whereas the game states 7 G1 career wins. Game Tower just took the direct English translation from the Japanese titles, so I do understand where this is coming from. My suggestion here is to take a look at both Game Tower and the game's requirements and then do the hardest one. In this case, between selecting a 7 G1 wins legacy and 7 G1 career wins legacy, the latter sounds harder, so pick that one. For your deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power. It can also be 3 speed and 3 stamina. For the races, there are 2 parts to this. The first part is that the Satsuki Show and the Japanese Derby must be won without being undefeated. Basically, this just means that you have to win Satsuki Show, Japanese Derby, and all the races before these 2. Try your best not to race in any other races in between your junior make debut and Satsuki show unless absolutely necessary. The second part needs you to win the Aoyama Kinen senior year, which is a requirement in the career path, so that is also not very hard. The most difficult thing that I feel about this epithet is the 4 G1 wins as the most popular, because sometimes you might not get the most popular Uma, and then this whole run will be kinda gone. You can try out the first few G1 races as they have lesser requirements to win and be the most popular. As usual, get your yellow skills such as your Professor of Curvature, Straightaway Adapt, Home Stretch Haste, etc. and your recovery skills like Corner Recovery, Gorman, Swinging Maestro, and etc. The last Uma of this tier is Symboli Rudolf, and her epithet is called Emperor. You have to win the Satsuki Show, Japanese Derby, and Kikuka Show while undefeated, win the Japan Cup and Tenno Show Spring, and win the Aoyama Kinen twice in a row. For Rudolf, her base stats are A for medium and long, A for pace and late, and B for front. You can run her in pace or late for her skill. For the legacies, you can use either stamina or power legacies, or you can use a mixture of both. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or 3 speed and 3 stamina. Now on to the races. There are quite a lot of requirements here. The first part states that you have to win the Satsuki Show, Japanese Derby, and Kikuka Show all while being undefeated. This means that you have to win not only the Satsuki Show, the Japanese Derby, and the Kikuka Show, but you also have to win all the races before these 3. This is just like Teio's epithet in a sense. However, Rudolph's one is a bit harder than Teio's, because not only do you have to win 3 races in a row and win the races before that, you also have to win one of the most difficult races to win of all time, which is the Kikuka Show. Especially if there are like opponents such as Gold Ship, Rice Shower, Mejiro McQueen, or Super Quick, who can definitely just burst out of nowhere. As usual, I would suggest to get your stamina to about 350 to 400 by the time you reach Kikuka Show, and about 450 to 500 stamina in Tenno Show Spring, which is also a race you are required to win. And in both cases, you need to have at least 1 recovery skill, preferably Swinging Maestro. Gourmet could work too if you're running her as pace. Yellow skills are also very good here. Next up, you have to win the Japan Cup, but you can do so in any year because it was not specified. So if you failed Classic, you can try again on Senior. Afterwards, you have to win the Aoyama Kinen in both the Classic and Senior years. If you're afraid you need more stats and training, you can skip the Japan Cup Classic year for an extra turn. Lastly, as I said earlier, you also have to win the Tenno Show Spring, which is the longest race in the game thus far. And of course, opponents such as Gold Ship, Rice Shower, Mejiro McQueen, Super Quick can all be there to just ruin your run by having a outburst of speed. Rudolph's epithet requires a lot of wins, so it can be tough to achieve this on the first try. One loss can ruin the whole run. It took me about 6 to 7 tries before I got this epithet. Emperor is really dependent on your stats, the chances of your skill activating, and luck. It is normal to fail on your first try. Just do it over and over again until you get it. Even with non-maxed out support cards like my deck, it is definitely possible to get this. The last category is tough to get. In this category, you need good stats, skills, and luck to obtain these epithets. They require conditions that are very hard to achieve. like winning as the most popular while having length difference or being very specific. These conditions are very tough. Like the previous tier, one wrong move or not successfully hitting a part of the requirement might just ruin the whole run. There is high difficulty completing these prerequisites. You need to plan for this, and failure rates are pretty high up here. These epithets can be accomplished in 1 to 10 runs, depending on if you're lucky, or else more if you're unlucky. The first Uma we have for this category is Mejiro McQueen. Her epithet is called Best Actress. You have to win the Kikuka Show and Tenno Show Spring, attain at least 1200 stamina, and obtain at least 320,000 fans. For McQueen's base stats, they are A for medium and long, A for pace, and B for front. Run her in front if possible by getting it to A through the legacies, or else pace is fine, but it can be quite hard to achieve this epithet with pace. I will explain later. For the legacies, you can only run stamina legacies because this will help to boost the stamina. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 3 stamina. Or if you're feeling a bit riskier and want to get to the goal faster, you can take 2 speed, 4 stamina. On to the races part. Her requirement for races aren't that much, to be honest. You have to win the Kikuka Show and the Tenno Show Spring, which should be quite easy on front because your stamina would be quite high, as you need to train for the stamina to get 1200. And you would definitely have some speed train while you're training for stamina. The gaps between these two races are quite far too, so you have more time to train for the Tenno Show Spring. Buy some frontrunner acceleration and velocity skills, which also equals to your yellow skills, and you can also add a recovery skill for good measure, but I did it without the recovery skill, so you should be fine without any recovery skill. Now I will explain why it's better to run in front than in pace. If you run in pace, you also need to train power, which can be a big problem. Yes, speed training does increase power, but not as much. You're also focusing on training stamina as much as possible, so having very low power will prevent McQueen from overtaking efficiently, which puts her at a risk of losing the race, throwing the whole run as a result. Also, opponents like Super Quick, Ghost Ship, and Rice Shower might just go on their burst once again. Putting McQueen at front lowers that chance of them overtaking you with a considerable distance in between. And McQueen, by running in the front, would allow her to be at the lead for at least the first few points of the race, which is quite crucial for a long race. Additionally, you need to win 320,000 fans, in which 70,000 comes from URA races. If you think that you can't win the URA races, which happens to me quite often in the runs I did for this epithet, do the Japan Cup and Arima Kinen on both years and win to get the maximum fans and get closer to the goal. The tough part of this epithet is getting the stamina to 1200. The at least in the title is kind of unnecessary because 1200 is the max you can go so far as of right now in the game. It might sound easy, and you might think it's just slapping speed and stamina cards onto the deck and calling it a day. It's way more worse than that. Firstly, you need to prioritize training stamina, which means you will take away chances at training speed, an important stat to even place in a race. You might not get first in some races because some opponents have a higher speed than you. You could also win due to your high stamina if the opponents just get fatigued near the end of the race. If you have too low of speed and too high of stamina though, you have a chance of losing Kikuka Show or Tenno Show Spring, which can be very devastating. Secondly, to get the maximum training points, you need to increase the bond levels to the orange at the very least. That might take some time, and sometimes they won't appear on stamina. Instead, they appear in places like wit or worse, guards. Thirdly, you have to pray that the friendship training appears on stamina and not anywhere else. Let's say I am using the Seiyun Sky stamina card in my deck. Once I maxed out the bond with Seiyun Sky, or at least get it to the orange level, she should appear on stamina to give me more stamina points. If she appears on guts, it will be completely useless. On top of that, you want all the stamina card bonds to appear on stamina so that you can maximize the gain of stamina points, especially during summer camp. If they appear anywhere else other than stamina once they are maxed, they are not as useful. Lastly, if you're depending on winning the URA to get fans, you have a decent chance of losing because you spend most of your time on training stamina that your speed isn't the best it can be. And if you don't hit the fan count, even a 1200 stamina won't save your run. All in all, this epithet is a difficult one to obtain. It requires either almost or fully maxed out SR stamina cards and about limit break 1 to 2 SSR stamina cards. It also requires a run with no speedy long opponents and a lot of luck. Hearing me talk quite a lot about McQueen, you might be confused as to why I placed her as the first in this category, even though the epithet sounds really hard to obtain. Believe me, there are worse ones later on. Next up, we have Biwa Hiyahide. Her epithet is called Victory Derived. Win the Kikuka Show, Tenno Show Spring, and Takarazuka Kinen, and complete the playthrough having accomplished all goals and placed top 2 in all races. For Biwa, her base stats are A for medium and long, A for pace, and B for N. Of course, because her pace is A, you should run her in pace. For her legacies, you can run power and stamina legacies. For her deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or else it can be 3 speed, 3 stamina. On to the races. The 3 races that you're required to win are all in the career path, and they are back to back to back. However, there are 2 long races in these, which is the Kikuka Show and the Tenno Show Spring, so you will definitely need high stamina. For Biwa specifically, I would say about 400 to 450 with a recovery skill like Swinging Maestro or Gorman. Like El Condor Pasa and Daiwa Scarlet, you have to either be first or second in every single race that you participate in. The moment you get third, you can no longer get the epithet and have to do a new run. It is also the same for the 3 required races to win. If you get second in either the Kikuka Show, the Tenno Show Spring, or the Takarazuka Kinen, your run will be ruined, and you will have to do a new one to try and get the epithet again. You would also need to at least complete the career path, which means that you must win the Arima Kinen senior year. URA races are fortunately not compulsory to win. Her conditions sound quite straightforward and should have belonged in the previous tier. Why is she in this tier instead? Like Raishower, Biwa is also known for being very difficult to train. And no, it's not because of her big head. For some reason, she doesn't want to win a race even with decent stats. Either she doesn't speed up, she gets boxed in, or else there are opponents who have lower stats than her but manage to overpower her at the last minute. Besides that, the chances of her getting debuffs like sleep deprived, migraine, or slacker are kinda high. I don't know if other players often face this too, but in the ones I tried to get her epithet, about 80% of those have at least 2 of the aforementioned debuffs. Even when I sent her to the infirmary, she doesn't want to cure her debuff. I had to take like 2 to 3 turns to clear it, which ruins my training time and therefore makes my stats lower. And even when I try to ignore the debuff since it is just a chance to activate, it activates like 9 out of the 10 times I try to train. And that is very annoying when I'm trying to train my stats and gain bond points, all for her to slack. However, this is nothing compared to my biggest gripe about her. You know, for every Uma, they each have a unique skill to help them win the races. Take for example the other two BNW member skills. Winning tickets, our ticket to win, allows her to gain speed on the final straight, while Narita Taishin's nemesis allows her to gain a considerable amount of speed after overtaking people while being in the second half of the pack. What about Biwa's skill? It is called Win QED, and it increases velocity by deriving the winning equation when passing another runner towards the front on the final corner. First of all, what does it even mean? It means that I would increase speed after I overtake someone in the front during the final corner. Sounds simple, right? The skill almost never activates. Biwa either never feels like activating it, or she could be at the bottom of the front half, or else she's at the front and then someone overtakes her at the last second. Let's break down this skill. According to Game Torah, passing another runner means that I have to overtake an opponent. Towards the front means that I have to be third and above. On the final corner means that it is the last corner of the race and afterwards. The main problem here is passing another runner towards the front. As mentioned earlier, I need to pass an Uma as well as be in the 4th, 3rd, 2nd or 1st position for this skill to activate. If I need to overtake an Uma, I need to be either 2nd, 3rd or 4th so that I can do that, thus already limiting the skill conditions to activate. If I'm first, I'm unable to overtake an Uma at that point and the skill will not activate, which means I won't gain that extra speed. And someone, on the other hand, might just overtake me at the last few moments. Especially Gold Ship, Rice Shower, McQueen, Super Quick, TM Oprah O, or any other Uma, honestly. If Biwa is in 5th at the final corner, even if she overtook someone afterwards, her skill does not proc, which won't give me that extra speed and in turn might cause me to not catch up and lose the race. Why can't the skill just be overtaking the first half? This skill is so frustrating. Even if the skill activates, she might not be able to catch up with the first runner because of her running. I really don't know what the problem might be genuinely, but she just does not run optimally quite a lot. This might just be a problem for me, and I might just have some skill issue, but I think people on the internet also have trouble training her too. Granted, she is not an easy trainee to train, so getting this epithet should be at the very last of your priorities. Also, fun fact here, Biwa took me the longest amount of time to obtain her epithet so far out of all the Umas I've tried. I got so mad at times I dumped about 15 plus or more because I'm not really that accurate, but about 15 or more of her Korean runs midway because she got 3rd and below in a race or she lost one of the consecutive races that needed her to win. I had completed about another 4 or 5 careers of hers because I thought I received her epithet when in reality I didn't. However, on 3rd of August 2025, I finally got her epithet after she finally locked in and won every single race she ran in. You have no idea how happy I was that it was finally over. This torture was finally done. It took me a whole week. Overall, she is a good long runner, and her recovery skills in potential levels are a great help. But if you're planning to get her epithet, be prepared to do a lot of runs and get used to losing a lot. Next on this list, we have Nice Nature, my favorite Uma. Her epithet is Supporting Star. Quite simple actually. Place 3rd in a G1 race 3 times and obtain at least 320,000 fans. For Nice Nature, her base stats are A for medium and long, A for late and B for pace. You can run her in either pace or late. For the legacies, you can either use speed, stamina or power legacies, or you can mix them up. For the deck, it can be 3 speed, 2 stamina, 1 power, or else it can be 3 speed or 3 stamina. On to the races. You just have to participate in any G1 race and get 3rd in 3 of them. no specification on which race you need to do. However, there is a specification on the third position. You can only get third in 3 G1 races and only 3. If you get more than 3 third places, you will not be able to get this epithet anymore. Game Towa stated that it is at least 3 races, while the game stated that it is only 3 races. To play it safe, pick the harder route, which is to get 3 third places in 3 G1 races only. Also, the fan counts of 320,000 fans shouldn't be that hard, considering you just have to try every G1 race to achieve the first part of the epithet requirement. I find this epithet really hard for a few reasons. Firstly, you can only hit exactly 3 third positions in 3 G1 races. The moment you hit more than that during any time in the career or less after the end of the career, it's game over. Sure, you can continue her career no problem and win the URA finals, which I took 25 tries to do so and it's on YouTube. However, you won't get the epithet. Second, unlike Biwa, Necha can either win the race without any skills or just lose it completely. It can be quite tough to make her get exactly third, because if she is third in a race at the final corner, her skill might activate, which might cause you to win the race instead. I mean, that's definitely good, but also kinda bad because you do need a third position. On the other hand, she can also throw a race off completely by being the last few runners, which lowers the number of fans you gain significantly. And do remember that you need to hit the 320,000 fans to get the epithet, so you can't lose too many races either. I guess the good thing about this epithet is that when you get first, second, or fourth and below, it doesn't affect the progress of your epithet. For example, if you already got your 3 third places in 3 G1 races and then you race a 4th G1 race and get second, it does not ruin your run because it does not count as a third position since it naturally isn't. Use that to your advantage and you can gain more fans from that too. Funny how the game developers made this epithet with the number 3 appearing a lot. Third place, 3 times, 3 G1 races, 3 in the 320,000 fans. This is because Necha is known for being the bronze collector and she always ends up in third place. Getting this epithet was a heartache for me because that meant I had to let her get third instead of first and remind her of her misery and pain of always getting third. Surprisingly, this was the third character specific epithet that I got after Taiki and Daiwa, and it only took me 1 run to get it. As I was trying to build an even nature for Champions Cup, I got it again. My advice to get this epithet is to do the first 3 G1 medium races as you wouldn't have strong stats at that point. Maybe buy 1 yellow or debuff skill at that point of time, depending on if you want to play with your luck or not. If not, some of the career races like the Kikuga Show or the Aoyama Kinen Classic year are kinda tough too, so you can try to get third on both since it is also a requirement. You won't have enough fans just by completing her career, so make sure to run in other races too. Overall, this is an epithet with really specific conditions, so don't worry too much if you can't get it after a few tries. Perhaps one day, you might be able to get it while you're doing a random run and not really concentrating on it. The next Uma on this tier is Special Week, and her epithet is called Ruler of Japan. Win the Japanese Derby by at least 5 lengths as favorite, and win the Tenno-sho Spring, Tenno-sho Autumn, and Japan Cup. For Special Week, her base stats are A for medium and long, and A for pace and late. You can either run her in pace or late. For her legacies, you can run stamina and 1 power. For the deck, it can be a mixture of speed, stamina, and support cards that have debuff skills. The more of these support cards, the better. On to the races. First, let's get the easy to understand requirements out of the way. Win both Tenno-sho races and any year of the Japan Cup. If you screwed up the classic year, you could always go for the senior year, which is also in the career path. On to the hard part. Win Japanese Derby with a difference of at least 5 lengths while being the most popular. This one is tough, and oh boy, it is harder than it sounds. First off, being the most popular isn't that hard, because Japanese Derby is one of the first few races, thus it requires a bit lesser stats by normal standards. Get some good legacies, because there will be inspiration before Derby. My speed can be a bit too high, but the range of being the most popular in this race is 2D plus and 1D on either of the 3 main stats, which are speed, stamina and power, while getting at least E for width. As usual, you don't need to care about guts. The hard part about this is winning by 5 lengths, or in fact even winning the race. The Seiyun Sky opponent in this race is way too overpowered, and you will know it once you race. Besides being a frontrunner, she accelerates very fast, which makes it very hard to catch up. Winning is only one part of the equation. You have to be at least 5 lengths away from the second place, and man, with that Seiyun Sky opponent, you be hitting 1 to 2 lengths at max with good stats. This is where the buff skills come into play. You need to slow Seiyun Sky and the rest of the opponents down with these skills so you can win with a big difference. Since Seiyun Sky is a frontrunner, you should get hesitant frontrunners, subdued frontrunners or flustered frontrunners. If you can, get 2 of them, or at best get all of them. Some of the support cards that I would recommend are Marvelous Sunday, Satono Diamond, Symboli Rudolf the R version, Agnes Tachyon, and Sakura Bakushin O. These are the cards that mostly have the debuff skills, especially the Rudolf card and the Sunday card. Murmur is also good, but not necessary to pick up. Having these debuff skills are not enough. You also need speed and acceleration skills, which are your yellow skills, so that you can gain speed and widen the gap. Finally, you need to pray for 3 things. Number 1, your special week goes as fast as she can. Number 2, your skills proc, especially the debuff ones. And the last point is Seiyun Sky gets boxed in because of the debuff skills and can't come catching up to you at the last minute. The winning a race with a length difference while being the most popular condition is like a final boss. It is extremely tough to achieve, and it sounds really hard, but it is possible to achieve. Alright, on to the epithet that I felt was the hardest to get. The Uma that I felt had the most difficult epithet to obtain is Sakura Bakushin O. Her epithet is called Bakushin King, where you have to win at least 11 races of 1400 meters or less as favorite, and win the Sprinter Stakes senior year by at least 4 lengths. For her base stats, it is A for sprint, B for mile, A for front and pace. Of course, the best strategy is that you would run her in the front. For legacies, you can use power legacies as they are the most efficient. The deck can be 3 speed, 3 width, or else it can also be 4 speed, 2 width. Now, on to the races. Winning 11 1400 meters or less races isn't too hard. 9 of them are in the career path, although the KO High Junior Stakes might be a bit hard to win. Just run a few more sprint races during training and you should be good to go. The hardest part of the epithet is the second part, which is winning the Sprinter Stakes senior year with a difference of at least 4 lengths while being the most popular. This time, the game only stated that you have to win the race by at least 4 lengths, while Game Tawa states that you also have to be the most popular. Like I said earlier, always compare the 2 sources and determine which is the harder one to accomplish. In this case, it's winning the race by at least 4 lengths and being the most popular. Fun fact, at the time I was trying to achieve this epithet, I depended on the game's description of the epithet, since Game Tora gave me the wrong information for Teio's epithet. The game's description, as you can see, did not state that I have to be most popular, so I went ahead and raced and did everything, including winning more than 4 lengths and also winning 11 or more 1400 meter races as favorite. However, I did not get the epithet. I sent an email to the support team asking about it, and they replied to me with, "It's an intended feature of the game." Well, Side Games, I didn't know that because you didn't state it in your game. I hope Side Games can update the epithet description, but for now, always refer to both the game and Game Tower and always pick the hardest route. Winning the race is pretty easy, as long as you have about A+ speed or above and B power and above. The first problem is winning it with 4 lengths. The Nishino Flower and the Mauzenski in this race are not fast enough to catch up to you, but fast enough to close up the distance. Usually, you'll get a 2 to 3 lengths difference, or if you're unlucky, 3.5. You will most likely need skills that can allow you to increase speed and acceleration. Even with these skills, you also have to pray that the opponents don't have their skills activated too, or they somehow get boxed in. The second problem is being the most popular. This is a race very late into Bakushin's career, so it is definitely harder to be the most popular, which means you need to have better overall stats than the second popular. From what I can remember, my speed before running the race was S, while my power was B+, and my wit was A+. My stamina is E, as well as my guts. You could more or less adjust a bit from there, but that requires you to be lucky in the first place and have friendship training appear at the right places in both normal training and summer camp, which is completely luck based. It's so ironic for me that the easiest Uma to train and win the URA finals is also the hardest Uma to get their specific epithet. It also sounds really easy, to be honest. Both difference in lengths and being the most popular combined together is a recipe for disaster. The people who I've talked to felt the difficulty of getting this epithet was more of having the 4 lengths difference rather than being the most popular. For me, the most difficult part is balancing both. Most of the times, I would get second popular even though I think my stats are pretty good. Other times, when I was most popular, I got 3 or 3.5 lengths away, which immediately cancels out the rest of the epithet. The fact that this requirement is so late into the career is so frustrating. Imagine going through so many turns training and racing only for you to be not the most popular or to win by lengths less than 4. It really felt like time was wasted, and it increased the time I needed to start a new run to try and get her epithet again, whereas Special Week's requirement is early in game, so if I am not satisfied, I could just exit the career and do another run without wasting too much time. I really felt that this was the hardest epithet to get. I spent about 3 days and about 20 plus runs trying my hardest to obtain it. Sure, I didn't do as many runs as Biwa to get this epithet, but this was much more painful because I kept inching closer to the goal but didn't reach it, which really got me mad at times. Also, I've seen some people on social media get the Bakushin title quite easily, while others are just struggling at it. I don't know what the opinion of the whole community is in getting this title, but I still feel it is the hardest to get. Overall, these are my thoughts on the current epithets that I've gotten. As for the 3 Umas I own and never got their epithet, I still think that they are mostly impossible to get besides Narita Taishin, which I'll put her under tough to get. I have tried to get Narita Taishin's epithet, and my closest run was getting 1167 guts. The requirements for this are quite easy to understand. Win Satsuki Show as an end closer while overtaking 4 runners in the last straight, win the Tenno Show Spring and get 1200 guts. The hard part here is winning the Tenno Show Spring, as the Biwa in this race is very overpowered. You need to have some decent stats and more recovery skills, as somehow they activate more often in long races. Debuff skills for pace chasers would also be very good because Biwa is a pace chaser. But somehow that good run got ruined because I didn't manage to get 1200 guards, getting only 30 points below it instead, as the friendship training didn't appear for the last 9 whole turns. And when all 4 guards appear in the training with 8% failure, I fucking failed that training, wasting 80 points of guards that could potentially lead me to 1200 guards and make me get that epithet. Game is out there to get me, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. Because guards isn't useful right now in races, so having high guards is not really gonna help Taishin in the race. Of course, guards also increases speed and power while you're training it, but not too much. Stamina is also very crucial here. Getting her epithet is definitely possible, but it is sure damn tough, and if I do manage to complete it, it will be definitely above Bakushin because of how many tries I did for this and failing most of the time and getting really frustrated by it. I might just try it a few more times while I lose my mind at the same time. For Haru Urawa, what can I say that everybody doesn't know? She's dirt and she can only run in sprints or mile. That itself lowers the number of races she can participate in, and even if you race every single race that she can do, it's not enough to hit 550,000 fans. You need to be really buffed and stacked by placing her with tough and medium or long legacies to both at least C to enable her to run in the tough races. And don't forget, you need to win those races to get the maximum amount of fans to fulfill the requirement. Right now, it is completely impossible to get this epithet, but it might be possible in the future when more features are added. For winning ticket, this is like the final boss of epithets, being the most popular and winning. You hate to see it. The epithet is to win Yayoi Show, Satsuki Show, Japanese Derby, and Kikuka Show as the most popular Uma. Yayoi Show is pretty easy. Then there's Satsuki Show. Somehow, Narita Taishin's stats here are so goddamn high, I don't even know how she got it that high. It's basically impossible, unless every of your stats before Satsuki Show is D+ and above, including guts and wit. If someone has achieved this epithet, please teach me your ways to get it, because I do want to get this epithet too, and I'm genuinely curious on how you actually do it. Here is an overview of the tier list. This concludes the epithet tier list version 1 video. Hopefully, my tips are able to help you at least a little and get you closer to achieving the character specific epithet for your favorite Uma. I wish you good luck in obtaining it, and I hope that the training blesses you. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day or night.